Mental Health Monday on Radio City Talk with Mick Coyle.
Radio City Talk.
It's Radio City Talk. It's Mental Health Monday. My name's Mick Coyle. I hope you're well. We have got a couple of great guests in the studio at the moment who are going to tell us about a new organisation. You'll know the name Hope Street. It's one of Liverpool's most famous streets. There's an organisation going by the same name, which are doing things a little bit differently and doing things from a point of view of mental health. I'm very pleased to say we have Dom and Sheila Byrne joining us in the studio. Guys, thank you both for your time. Really appreciate you joining us on Radio City Talk and on Mental Health Monday. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
First and foremost, Dom, we'll start with the name, Hope Street. You're not based on Hope Street in Liverpool.
No.
You're based out of Ormskirk. Just tell us about the name.
Yeah, well, we're based out of Ormskirk at the moment, but we are moving into Liverpool shortly. But the name is basically, I guess, when you're struggling with your mental health, you can basically feel like you're alone, like you're the only person in the world that feels like this, and there's no hope for you. So we wanted to create an organisation that started off with the name on a positive footing. And we also wanted to appeal to kind of like a large demographic of people. So we thought if we called it Hope Street, you know, it's not kind of your stereotypical middle-aged support group type thing, but it might also appeal to a younger age group as well.
So why did you want to get involved in this huge field and open yourself up to that huge audience?
I think like many people, it's come through personal experience. So I guess the story behind Hope Street is that January 2016, Sheila had a nervous breakdown, and she, I guess, from my perspective, she went to work at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and she returned 2 hours later just a complete shell of the person that she was. So Sheila was a very outgoing, bubbly, keen fitness fanatic, and the person that came home 2 hours later could barely stand up, didn't want to speak, didn't want to see her children, didn't want to see her grandchildren, couldn't express any emotion whatsoever. So that kind of started us on a journey of, I guess, a journey of learning about mental health. And I think that quite often the best way to learn is to experience it, unfortunately. So Sheila learned from being that person who was diagnosed with severe depression, anxiety, OCD and PTSD, and I learned from being that person who cares for somebody who suffers, basically. And what happened was we identified there were pockets of places where Sheila could go, but there was nowhere for me. And you can't really speak to anybody, because if you speak to your friends look out for you. And some of the things that happen when somebody is severely ill with the mental health, someone who's not in that situation would just think they're just taking the mickey out of you. You know, when they're not, you only understand it when you're in it. So there was nowhere for me to go. And that's how that was the initial first thought, wanted to create a place for carers. Where you could, I guess, share experiences, really. And it kind of manifested itself from there.
Can we bring Sheila in at this point? Sheila opted at the start of this for Dom to answer the questions. He was talking about you, though, Sheila, so it's right that we introduce you at this point, maybe. That day, do you have memories of that day? Is that day a day that it wasn't very long ago, really? Not that long ago in terms of time frame. Is it a day which is still a prominent one in your mind?
It is, but I can't remember getting home from work. I drove home from work, and I just can't remember getting home, arriving home. The first thing I can remember is arriving at the hospital, and my heart rate was through the roof, and was sent away with something called diazepam to calm me down. And was told I had to go to the doctors the following day, which is what we did. It was at that point that I was prescribed antidepressants. Unfortunately, the antidepressants were debilitating, and I couldn't get my head off the sofa. I couldn't get out of bed. I lasted on those for four days. And we had to go back to the hospital because the headaches were that excruciating. I was just sleeping 17 hours a day. So I just had no quality of life whatsoever, although I didn't have a quality of life anyway because I wasn't able to bathe myself or do anything for myself.
When Don talked about you going to work one person and coming back a different person, as you've assessed maybe where you were at going up to that moment, was there something else going on? Were there things happening in your mind, or was it about a moment that changed yourself from a mental health point of view?
It was workplace bullying. That started it. So it got to the point where I went in that morning and I was taken into the office again and bullied, and it was just the final straw.
In terms of those days afterwards, Don, I'm sure you experience this as well when people talk about going through a moment like that from a mental health point of view. The sense of vulnerability is very much there. And from what you said about your own experience, about the amount of time you were spending in bed, excruciating headaches as well, in and out of doctors and hospitals as well, did you feel particularly vulnerable at that time?
Yeah, because I was fearful. I felt hopeless, helpless. I didn't want to see anybody, so if I needed anything, people would knock on the door and leave it on the doorstep. So I was too frightened to open the front door. I wouldn't answer my phone. I was too frightened to answer the phone. And I could barely string a sentence together. My communication had gone. So from an intelligent person studying a PGCE to not be able to converse with people was quite difficult. It's
interesting that Dom talked about, that in terms of setting up the organisation, about how it can affect the partners as well. Within your own mind, were you still having all these conversations in your head, but actually the outgoing Sheila wasn't there? Those sort of conversations weren't taking place. Within your own head, were you having those conversations with yourself?
No, there was an emptiness. I've just had no soul. It's the only way to describe it. It was just complete emptiness. My body had completely shut down to the point where I was unable to physically do anything. Just walking to the kitchen, which is about 100 metres, I'm not sure how far, but it was just impossible to do. I needed support to do it. I needed support bathing. I needed support washing my hair, needed support drying my hair. I couldn't do a thing for myself.
Dom, from your point of view, when you're going through that as well, without the training, without the knowledge as well, if it had been a car accident or if it had been some sort of, physical health treatment which left her in that position, I guess you'd have been almost preparing yourself for that. How difficult was it in that time without the communication, but absolute what appears to be the almost total dependence upon you as an individual?
Do you know what? It's quite strange because at the time, I personally didn't think about it. I just kind of did it, and this was what was happening. So this is what I had to do. But I know from kind of what friends have said, and it's quite funny. What one of my friends' sons, I think he was about 7 or 8 at the time, and him and his mum were in Ormskirk, and he said they saw me, and I didn't see them, but the 7-year-old said he doesn't look right. So it's like it's a bit of a daze, Did you know it was a mental health crisis at that point? Yes, yeah. Because we'd been to the doctors, and she'd have been diagnosed by the GP who was really good. Our GP was really good. But I guess I didn't understand what the whole thing meant. I was just doing what I thought a husband should do when you've got someone who can't look after themselves. So whether it was a mental health illness or whether it was a physical illness, to me it wouldn't have mattered. You just do the same thing, to look after the person who you love, you know what I mean? But interestingly, just going back to what we were talking about before, and I started off by saying, it happened this day in literally 2 hours. Sheila's behaviour for 6 months before had become really erratic, but I didn't know. I had no idea why, and you didn't know. You kind of knew it was, didn't you? But neither of us knew what was going on. I thought it was some other kind of health issue that women have. So that morning it came as a real shock. But when we look back on it now, there was a lead-up process to it whereby if we'd have identified that change in the behaviour, what it meant and what it was, or there'd been support there, we could have not got to that point.
I guess there might be some people listening to this who might have been thinking that's the sort of thing which would make somebody run a mile. Like if they were going through it, you make your pledges on your wedding day, of course, but actually if it's a difficult time and a difficult moment, and sometimes you think, I don't really know what's going on, everything seems to be out of my control. It seems that, Dom, you really dug in at that point and did everything that you could, whereas other people might have just gone, whoa, this has gone completely out of hand. I'm not in any way, shape or form equipped for that. You didn't want to take that decision, and Sheila, I guess you're glad now that he didn't.
Yeah. I don't know how he coped, to be fair, because I was a shell of the person I was originally when we first met. Even 12 months before that, I was just a shell of that person. And it's just sad that you have to go through something like I did in order to get the support that I received, but in order to make me a stronger person and come out achieving high standards.
Yeah, every credit to the pair of you actually on this one. But Sheila, let me ask you this: we're not far off from that day. Not that many years have passed, if you like, and yet now we're talking about this new organisation. We'll hear about some of the events that you're involved in. We're talking about a clothing line that you're involved in as well. You mentioned the journey there and medications and things like that. At what point did things start to improve? At what point did you start to see maybe the start of a journey which you find yourself on now?
I went back to start studying my PGCE to continue that in 2017. So I suppose as a result of that, I started to improve my confidence and self-esteem because I was getting my results back and I was getting really high grades. I'd say once I went on to the latest medication, that was about 6 months ago, that things really did improve. So that's helped me to deal with the depression, so I don't cry every day now. However, I still have anxiety. It's not as severe as it was, but I don't go on public transport alone. I find difficult being in an unfamiliar environment, difficult, and crowded places.
I think people listening to this would think, you're not far away from that moment as well, and to almost get to the point that you're at already, given your experience, is a tremendous credit to yourself and presumably the support network that you built around yourself, the choices that you made at that point and the choices that were made on your behalf to try and get you to the place that you're at now.
I have a lot of determination. I'm quite determined with what I want, and I wanted to go back and study my PGCE, and I wasn't going to do it unless I could get an outstanding, which I have high standards, and I've recently qualified and I did get an outstanding.
Amazing.
But I did get a lot of support from International Coaching Academy as well, which is a course that we did in Liverpool, which is run by John Haynes. And that helped me to develop my confidence and my skills. And people on the course were all like-minded and they'd all been through similar things. So it was nice to come across people that had been through similar situations to myself and come out the other side. And it kind of inspired me and enabled me to continue with the university and go back and do my teaching placement.
Absolutely. And because they can be difficult and stressful sort of moments in their own regard as well. For people who don't know, PGCE is a teaching qualification, isn't it? Yes. To become a teacher. Do you feel like the you who went on that course, who got the outstanding, is a different you to the one who came home from work that day, to the one who became the victim of the bullying? That's you standing up on your own 2 feet as the person that you want to be.
100%. It's made me stronger. It's made me more positive. So I kind of look at the positives and where I've come from to where I am now. I look forward rather than look back. And it's just all strategies that I'm working on to improve my future and develop a career. And I told myself that I'm going to succeed and I'm going to be really successful in what I do. And I will be.
It's amazing. And just in the last few weeks, we've been talking with individuals who come on and shared their stories and really had a sense that actually throughout all their problems, there's a sense deep within that the real you is in there. That the person that you are, you feel you can be, is hidden within there. And it might have been downtrodden, it might be anxious or depressed, but actually, given the right opportunities, that real person will get out. And it seems as if you've set that path for yourself.
You know, I am, and it's really good being involved in Hope Street because we're able to help other people. So for me, I'm finding really a lot of gratitude because we're helping a young girl, 17, who's suffering from anxiety. And all the feedback she gives us every week is fantastic. So she went into an assembly this week as a result of Hope Street. She also went to a festival, which is a massive thing. But it's all stuff that she was nervous and anxious about. However, she's done it, and it's because she's come to Hope Street and she's had the support that we've given her.
We've got Sheila Byrne in the studio, Dom Byrne as well. We're talking about the new organisation Hope Street, which is set up just outside Liverpool, coming to Liverpool very soon. We've been hearing Sheila's story as well, but also Dom's story in regard to his experience after Sheila came home from work one terrible day with... Have you put a word to it now, Sheila? Would it be a mental breakdown that people talk about? Is that a nervous breakdown? Is that the phrase you've got for it?
Yes, it was, but it's left me with other mental illnesses, so PTSD, OCD, anxiety and depression. I've got the depression under control, fortunately. I still have flashbacks, but they're becoming less.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've been so open and honest with sharing your story. We really appreciate that, actually. And actually, it was interesting to hear that actually part of what you're doing through Hope Street now, and Dom, I'll bring you in at this point, is having that shared experience and finding people that this experience is then relevant to. Hopefully, presumably, that they then don't have to go through the same things. Or if they are going through the same thing, there's somebody there who can put their arm around and go, I know exactly how you feel because we were in exactly the same place or a similar enough place for it to be irrelevant.
Exactly. When Sheila first started talking about her experience, one of the words that she said was she felt hopeless. And we don't want anyone to get to that stage. So what we're trying to do is to basically bring people in to talk about their experiences. So in talking about their experiences, what they're doing is, first of all, they're providing validation that actually this is a real thing. You know, the way you feel, it's not imaginary, this is it. And it's just the same as any other illness. But also that they're providing hope that actually, you know, they were sat in that chair at some point and they felt like that, so you can get through it. And also inspiration, because we want people to be inspired by other people's stories. And the fact that, you know, where Sheila is now, where our speakers have been, and the fact that they've been able to come and stand up in front of people and tell something that's really personal and really difficult to talk about, but to do so in such an engaging way, that's success. And to be able to get up every morning and just think, do you know what, today's a good day, that is success. So that's really why we came back to why we called it Hope Street before. You know, that's what we want to do. We want to give people hope and inspiration.
What are these? You mentioned these meetings, these events. What do they look like? What sort of form do they take?
Yeah, so, I mean, they're still in the early phases, to be honest with you. So we've been running now 5 weeks. And basically at the moment, we generally tend to have 2 speakers. The first speaker, as I say, is somebody who's been in that dark place and come out the other side and made a success of their life. And that success they might be really successful in business, but they might just be happy, you know, and that's success. And then the second speaker is generally someone who offers a type of alternative therapy or offers strategies that maybe they hadn't thought of using before. So to give you an example, we've had a chap called Ian Crossley discussing how he came through his pretty much lifetime depression with a technique called Thrive. We've had a guy called Kevin Morris. He's an angelic Reiki healer. So he's talked about, you know, his experience and how angelic Reiki healing helped him. But then we had another guy come through on Tuesday, and he's not struggled so much with his mental health, but he's been really successful in terms of he's climbed Everest, he's worked in Formula One, he's coached Olympic athletes, and he talked about basically, the importance of setting really tiny goals, because if you set big goals and you're feeling that way and you're feeling in a bad place, you're just never going to get there. So if you set yourselves really small goals, it's a step-by-step process, and you can get there. People we've got coming up to speak, so we've got a lady, Michelle Louise Turner. She is the vice captain at the Invictus Games. She's coming to speak on Tuesday. We've had Jake Mills, who's obviously a regular on Mental Health Monday. He's been in to speak and tell his story. So we try and vary it, and we just try and introduce people to different things. Last week, it got a really good reception. Actually, we had a lady called Nicola Forshaw. She has a company called MindFit, and she's a mindfulness expert. And that was really, really popular. And the idea is that, people will come maybe for 4 weeks, and for 3 of those weeks they might think, nah, that's rubbish, that's not for me, that's not for me. That is for me. So it's just about introducing different methods to help people, basically.
That's the hit rate we have for the podcast as well. we say to people, listen, check out here stories. You might have, elements of the stories which are relevant to you. Some weeks it might not be relevant to you. Yeah. Other weeks it might well be that person absolutely hits the nail on the head. And actually, as you're probably finding as we do with this program, there's not a shortage of people who want to speak and share their stories as well. And I don't know if that's part of, just the way that people talk around here. You can't stop people talking. But actually, I find that there's a real sense of community in regard to mental health, almost like a mental health family around the Merseyside area.
I would totally agree. The support that we've had has been absolutely unbelievable. And do you know what? A lot of that support has come through the business network within the city. And it's been absolutely unbelievable. And we feel really lucky to have made the contacts that we've had. But like you say, when somebody's been through in that dark place, they seem almost more willing to talk about it than any other illness that I've ever come across, But I think it's because they know what it's like to be stigmatized.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? When people can talk about this, because of course, if you have something like cancer, there are medical things going on with your body, which even if you study for a PhD, you'd still struggle to get your head around all the ins and outs and all the different sort of research and everything. Whereas the thing with mental health stories is people know the stories because it's their lived experience. It's who they are, who they have been, who they didn't want to be but became, and who they want to become again, Sheila. And I guess that's why there is so many positive connections that people can have with this one, because you're not trying to tell somebody about different medical side. You're talking about what it is to be yourself, to feel yourself, to have emotions, to live those emotions, and to have experience as well. And people can relate to that.
Yeah, it's quite a bizarre situation to be in, I have to say, and I never ever thought it would happen to me, but it has, and it can happen to any one of us at any time. No one is void from it. It can happen to any of us. And for me, it's when people refer to it as the invisible illness, it's so invisible, it's unbelievable. And I do find that people get a little bit fed up listening to you, whether that's my paranoia about it, I don't know. But it does get a little bit samey listening to it. But I have to say that kind of trying to come out the other side, it feels rewarding, and I'm quite proud because recently I've had a lot of positivity around me. So I've been awarded a positivity reward. The university are doing a story on me to inspire other students. There's just so much going on. So out of a negative has come a positive, really. I don't think I'd have got all the opportunities and the recognition I'm getting had it not have been for what's happened to me, although I'd sooner not have gone through it.
But did any of those universities say, to be honest, Sheila, could you change the story now? We're sick of hearing the same story. They didn't say that, did they?
No, not at all.
And I think you're obviously saying it, but, if you're liking it to, a former footballer who's doing a sportsman's dinner, he's telling the same old stories about the same old cup finals, but he's telling it to new audiences, new people who see value in hearing that story as well. But it's interesting that actually, when you've got the Hope Street events, it's not just your story, I'm sure you share as part of that, but you're bringing new people in all the time. So you're always hearing new stories, new experiences.
Yeah, because what we're trying to do is prevent suicide. So, as well as supporting people. So, for me, a dark moment that I was in, I walked out of the house in the middle of the night. Dom followed me out and basically stopped me. So it was a difficult time. Yeah.
Dom, that's as close to literally the brink as you can get.
Yeah, that was, to be honest, that was a turning point, and I think for me that was a turning point in what I needed to do to look after myself as well, because that was like Sheila had talked about not wanting to be here and things like that, and you'd think that, you know, when you're out, you'd be rushing home because you, in the back of your mind, you'd just be thinking, what am I going to come home to? But that night was a really bizarre night, to be honest with you, and I didn't know what to do. And I guess that for me was when I sought help. So I spoke to a good friend of mine, and she pointed me towards a psychotherapist called Paula Kenny. She's on Hope Street. And that really helped me, because that was the first time in 12 months that I could really open up to somebody. And when you do that, you end up opening up about loads of things you didn't know you were going to open up about. But yeah, that was a turning point, and it then led me to think, well, I do quite a lot of, I've done a lot of triathlons and stuff in the past, but I'd stopped that for that year. And I started to think I need to look after my own mental health, because I'm not sure the exact statistic, but if you're a carer, there's quite a high percentage of people who care for people with depression end up suffering with depression as well. And I just knew that there's no way I wanted that to happen to me. So for me to do the best for Sheila, I had to do the best for me.
If people want to find out more about Hope Street, the website hopest.org.uk. That's hopest.org.uk. We've got Dom and Sheila on Radio City Talk. Sheila, you say, you know, it's an internal thing, you know, you don't see it, but actually you're changing that, because actually one of the ways you're going to be funding this whole thing is with this clothing brand, and you're wearing rather nifty little outfits yourself, and you brought me in a T-shirt as well. Just off the face of it, you've got this nice little design, and it's kind of like a U, but then it becomes an R.
Exactly.
I've got it right.
You are, yeah.
So I've got the T-shirt. Thank you very much for bringing this in. Amazing. Sheila, yours says you are in charge of happiness, and Dom, yours says you are enough.
Yeah, and basically what we want people to do is to, when they put the clothing on, they look in the mirror, they want to be reminded that they are enough. You know, that they are, no matter where they are at the moment, they're a fantastic person. There's a fantastic person inside them, and they can become that fantastic person. They just need to learn how to deal with things, I guess, and how to manage their mental health. And 50% of the profit from every item that we sell will go towards funding Hope Street, which will mean that we can then create more Hope Streets. Our goal is to have a national network of Hope Streets, because we just want to help as many people as we can, because there's lots and lots, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who aren't getting the help that they need. And if they're in the process of going through the doctors and the NHS, they're on a waiting list. So what are they doing in between that? We want to act as a caveat.
People can find out more information on the website and buy the gear as well. So you start with T-shirts, hoodies.
T-shirts, hoodies.
What else is on there?
Yeah, so we're going to have socks. We're going to have shorts. We've got some big ideas for the brand, but we are just starting off with, I guess, comfort clothing. Really, at the moment, just things that people can put on and it feels nice and it feels comfy, but also it just gives them that little boost.
hopestreet.org.uk, where people can find out more information as well. I noticed that mine came with a little story.
Yes, a little
as
fable.
Well. Is that something you're trying to do? This is the story of the starfish.
Yeah.
Just tell us about why you're doing this.
Well, it's part. So you can buy a T-shirt. You can buy a T-shirt anywhere. What we want to do is create an experience of buying that T-shirt and just give people little snippets of information. So, what we've got this huge vision, as I've just outlined, for Hope Street. Some people might, well, why are you doing that? You're not going to help that many people. And the fable of the starfish is, well, you might want to help 1 million people, but you only help 100. But it's 100 more than you would have helped. And that is just helping 100 people, helping one person. it's an amazing thing. It's amazing, for us on a personal level. It's an amazing feeling to be able to make a positive difference to somebody's life. And if we can do that to hundreds and thousands of people's lives over time, then that'll be the best thing that we could ever wish for.
Sheila, we always talk on this programme about talking about your mental health, but actually there's a danger sometimes with it being on the radio. We're not saying to everybody, go on the radio and talk about it or publicly, get it out there in front of everybody. For people who are not telling their story, who are sitting on that story, I don't feel the ability to tell that story. Have you found it a cathartic experience to be able to share that story? Not necessarily here today in public, but with friends, confidants, people who are in a smaller circle, if you like, a benefit to that?
To be fair, I've always been open about my mental illness. I've never hidden it, and I never will. There are people out there who do hide it, more so men than women. Women are quite chatty and like telling the story. Men are frightened to speak up because it's seen as a weakness. But my advice to people would be speak up, because there's people there to support you, and we want to support as many people as possible and prevent people getting to the place where I was. And hopefully people won't have to go through a Mind Masses team, mental health team, then care coordinators, psychiatrists. Hopefully if we get people soon enough, they can stop at us and they won't need medication. It'll be social prescribing instead.
Thank you both for joining us today. Thank you for sharing that story as well. I'll mention the website. Is that the best place for people to go for finding out about events, upcoming speakers and things like that?
There's that. We have a Facebook page as well. And we also have a Twitter handle, which is at HopeST_MH. Sorry.
Excellent. I'll write that down, and I'll make sure, obviously, that it gets out on our social media as well, so people can find those links as well. Sheila, thank you for sharing your story as well. Good luck with the rest of your journey as well as that continues. Dom, thank you for your time too. Thanks for bringing the T-shirts in as well.
Pleasure.
We'll get point people again in the direction of the website, hopest.org.uk. Do check that out as well. Check out the clobber as well, because it's pretty decent gear. It's Radio City Talk, and it's Mental Health Monday.
Mental Health Monday with Mick Coyle.
Radio City Talk.
Brilliant to get the Hope Street team on Mental Health Monday. Brilliant organisation, and hopefully going to some brilliant places as well. We're doing our best to spread the word about Hope Street. They're also doing a bit of crowdfunding as well, and hoping to raise some cash for the work that they've set out there. Dom is going to be running the Ultra Marathon on the 8th of July. The Ultra Marathon sounds tough, and he's raising funds. So if you want to head over to their crowdfunding page, justgiving.com/crowdfunding/Dominic-Byrne-2. That's Byrne spelled Byrne-2. That's justgiving.com/crowdfunding-Dominic-Byrne-2, and head over there, raising money for Hope Street in the Ultra Marathon taking place on the 8th of July. If you're able to support them in any way, shape or form, I'm sure they'd be eternally grateful. Dom and Sheila, I guess, on Mental Health Monday. Thanks for checking out the podcast today. You can get extra editions of Mental Health Monday every single week, because we do something called Mental Health Extra. It's extra editions where we touch on issues we've raised on the programme, but we discussed them at length with Jake Mills. Mental Health Extra will appear automatically in your subscription feed if you subscribe to Mental Health Monday. Do check that out too. Also, we do extra interviews and extra content, bonus content for the Mental Health Monday podcast listeners. That's what you're going to get next.
Mental Health Monday
On Radio City Talk.
with Mick Coyle.
Tackling the stigma.
Radio City Talk.
Okay, so on Mental Health Monday this week, we're going to be speaking with a teacher and author who's got a new book out. You can actually buy it through Amazon, and it's all about mental health and, introducing mental health as an aspect with young people, maybe even your own children, maybe children within a classroom environment, if indeed you work at school. Kate Mullin's in the studio. Kate, it's great to see you. Thank you for your time.
Hi.
Last time you were on, we were talking about something else, and we got onto the conversation, didn't we, of mental health? And I said, I tell you what, you'd be a perfect guest for Mental Health Monday.
Yes.
Since then, you said a lot of nice things about me on social media, so I thought you can definitely come on.
Thank you.
Just tell us, from your own point of view, what's your own understanding, do you think, of mental health?
I think mental health affects us all. I mean, that's the term that's been given to it, or we all sort of then go off and have our mental health discussions with friendship groups or in schools or with colleagues. But I think it covers so many things that, there's a lot going on there to tackle. And I think with the internet, there's new things coming up for mental health. So it can cover a wide range of things, from severe depression to sort of your general, how it affects your daily life, maybe just little things.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about young people, obviously. I often think that one of the key things around this is that it's sometimes hard as an adult to fully grasp this idea that we've been talking about on this program, that everyone's got mental health. You need to be able to spot signs, but also spot signs in other people, help out along the lines as well. And if we did all that, great. But then actually, we'd have a new generation who we almost have to empower to be able to have those similar skills.
Yes.
And that's a much more sort of holistic thing where we don't just focus on ourselves and our own understanding. It's about teaching about mental health to younger people as well.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
But it's huge, isn't it? Because that you think, well, actually, if you started talking about it, it focuses on every single aspect of young people's lives. Yeah. And that includes all the stuff that we had when we were growing up, plus all this new stuff as well.
Yes.
With social media, the digital world, this always-on sort of mentality, which for us is a new thing or a bit gimmicky, catching up with people you went to school with. For them, it's just...
It's huge.
Normal.
Yeah. Well, it's normal, and it's also, it's part of their lives. But there is, I think we need to think about their resilience in social media. And the Growing Up Digital report looks at how we tackle making people resilient. So with other things, you'd go out, make mistakes. So with this, you still have to go out, make your own mistakes, and then learn from them. So there's a certain amount of resilience needed when helping young people come to their own decisions about what their lives, how they can be enhanced through digital and social media, but also looking at the ways of tackling it so that they are safe and that they can enjoy things. There's been a report written, the Growing Up Digital report, discovered that children don't really worry about what their siblings are sharing and what their parents are sharing. They don't really like their parents sticking photos of them on social media and things like that. So, but also their aspirations are raised through social media because they can go off and explore on their own, and they're given a little bit of freedom and, well, a lot of freedom. So there's the two ends of the spectrum. It's not all bad and doom and gloom. It's not all, there is positives as well.
And actually, and that's quite a key point. And we'll come on to the book that you've been working on. But at the moment, if we talk about physical health, people will say, well, what? Physical health, you feel a bit ill, you've a broken leg, you've got cancer, whatever it would be, that's your physical health. But actually, when we hear mental health with a capital M and a capital A, people automatically, I think, assume negativity, don't they? They assume that there is a problem. But actually, we're not talking about problems. We're talking about just overall mental health. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. In the same way, your physical health can be good or bad. And actually, is that a lesson that you can teach a young person? Yeah. That actually mental health is a thing.
It's something
and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Talk about. I think you can build it into your daily lives. That you can always have a discussion on how you're feeling, and keep the conversations going. And again, that's part of the book thing, is that we all like to share books and talk about books. So it's a good way of like filtering it in a way that maybe the children won't sort of see themselves sat down. Let's talk about mental health is a bit too much sometimes, but it can just be a nice way in for that conversation to get going in the schools or in the home or wherever they are.
And let me tell you this, as a dad, these story times can take place anywhere.
As a new dad,
yes, exactly. Oh yeah, well, wait till he gets into the books as well now. And it's an interesting way of looking at it, because it's not tricking your kids in, but actually all stories, Hansel and Gretel and all those type, nursery rhymes and lullaby, they're all little moral fables, aren't they? About if you are good, then good things happen to you. Be wary of certain types of people. Don't trust people who, promise the world. They're all there. Those fables are all in there. And they're sort of morals, aren't they? They're all in there.
They are. I think certainly with the Twisted Tales, there's a certain element of humour in them. There's a certain cautionary type of theme to them, in that it's sort of like beware, but in a very safe environment. So you can have a giggle at it, you can have a laugh, and so that's a good way in of tackling it. The other thing, I've been reading about teenagers and how their brains aren't yet fully developed for, if you tell them about the risks, they won't listen, because the brain doesn't listen to that bit. so they won't listen to risks. So again, it's like, how do you steer them in a way that's going to help them take note? And maybe that would be having poetry that they've read in school discussed together, and we had some boys reading the raps out, and maybe just discussing it as we learn better in tribes, in teams, and we learn better by discussing.
And so I think that a good example of that would be The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Yes.
Because actually now, if you think about it, do people often or that often tell an absolute lie loads of time and then eventually go... People don't, because I think that phrase, they're crying wolf, has almost worked its way in, hasn't it?
Yes.
To just that regular vernacular. It's just something that maybe people still do tell little white lies and so on and so forth. But those big serious lies that affect lots of different people.
Yeah.
I think that sort of thing is affected by young people at an early age learning stories like The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Yes.
And it becomes part of the conversation. Let's touch on the book before we talk about some of the work that you do within schools as well. A relaxation journey. So you've actually put it into a book.
We made the story part of the learning to relax, so it was part of the story. Again, we sort of thought that it was a good way of actually saying to the children through the story how to relax their body was part of the story, and that was sort of the unique part of it, in that as you read the story you build special powers, and there's special rainbow caves that you can visit, and then you can find within yourself special powers in these different rainbow caves. So the pink rainbow cave has powers for compassion and kindness, so you look for kindness in the rainbow cave and things like that. So it really takes you through different elements that you can find within yourselves. And the purple rainbow cave, special powers, again says that your special powers can be things that you're not good at as well as things that you're good at. So it's trying to just give that idea that mindfulness can help you, and it does make changes in the brain to make you feel better.
I think if you just to read it sort of, you would read it almost as a meditation.
Yes, it is guided.
But it's a guided through, but actually it takes you on the journey. And actually for young people, they have that ability, don't they, to go to those places.
Yeah, and I think it ultimately it is just a story with a bear and a rainbow cave. And when I've read it in school, there's been a little boy with autism who loved it and asked for it so many times and just really hooked on to the bear theme and the rainbow cave. So the story aspect is always, for me as a writer, what was the interesting part. It was just that then the mindfulness and the extra things made it a little bit more special.
But in doing so, you've created something which actually tells children how to relax. Yeah. So if in the future they have that idea of the stress, anxiety, whatever it is, that inability to relax, if they've just got that seed which was planted when they were whatever age, which this is how you relax, actually that's a skill set which maybe a generation who've grown up before don't have or haven't had that ability.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that if we teach children at between 4 and 6, they pick up skills even quicker. And actually, if you look at the mindfulness, it can mean that children then become practiced in not choosing, being aware at better thoughts. So it's a mind stillness. And when we're bombarded with things like social media, and we need skills to then think, well, I'm not going to get hooked into this because I'm choosing a different thought, or I'm going to have some quiet time. So it's all linked together.
I mean, there's loads in the book as well, but I mean, there's things to do at the end. Make a list of places you feel calm and peaceful in.
Yeah.
We could probably do that as adults, adults if we wanted to. Think of some imaginary places that make you feel calm: a beach, a forest, a boat, a rainbow cave, and think of words that make you feel calm and make a poster of your words. You can see kids doing this one and actually being worked into, a classroom environment.
Yeah. There's just a few ideas. I think then if you've got those things, then the next time you are feeling a bit angry, your grown-up can say, where's your calm place? Where's your special place? Or how, do you remember when we talked about this? Or just looking at the poster that they'd made. Or it just all builds then choices and builds them having a mindfulness in mind at all times, sort of thing. It can just help.
But I think as well that the theme as well seems to be almost that the the answers are within you as an individual, as a piece here. We will find ourselves able to relax even at difficult moments. We know we can find our special peace over and over again. It's with us when we need it.
Yeah.
But actually that, if we talk about, I don't always like the phrase empowering, but I've used
Yeah.
it a couple of times. But actually
Yeah.
that is something there, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
they're saying those solutions are here.
Yeah,
You don't,
they're
if, rather than having to look everywhere,
Yeah.
scour the internet, listen to podcasts to
Yes,
find those
yes.
answers, to actually have
Yeah.
a generation coming through who already have that information.
Yeah.
That's quite a powerful thing to pass on.
Yeah, hopefully. I think
Generationally.
if people can read through the book and enjoy it, and that is the point of the book.
When you've gone into the classrooms, your reaction there, you mentioned the boy that and just asking for stories over and over again, sign of a good story. I
Yes.
always think as well. What's the sort of the environment within the classroom? Because of course you go into a primary school.
Yeah, well,
You know,
I'm at Bluebell Park Secondary Special School, which shout out to those guys, they're an amazing place and people in it. And my class, we do a lot of sensory story work. So we've taken the rainbow caves that step further, and we go into these rainbow caves, and we have material all different colours, and we try and make it a very sensory experience. So then they are really enjoying the peace and the calm of different caves. So yeah, that experience, that's been a great way to do it. And we've, the stars that they count, that we actually have stars in there to count, and we have very practical things to do with the book as well. So it's been, it's great to use it in the classroom. It's always lovely to see reactions and have children asking for it.
I'm going to do some of the relaxation things now. And I don't think I've got a smooth enough
Don't
voice
fall asleep, mate.
to be able to do this. Relax your hips, and as you float deeper, don't laugh in the background there. I'm trying to be relaxing it. Relax your hips, and as you float deeper, relaxing every part of you. Relax your knees, relax your ankles, and every toe, including the middle toe on your right foot. That's a specific one,
That's
isn't
a
it?
specific
It'll make you really think about
hypnotic technique.
relaxing.
So, it was specifically done like that. There are some techniques in there.
I was going to say, so in terms of
properly.
your own sort of training,
Yeah.
obviously your skill is within storytelling, but did you have to look for sort of meditation techniques and then work them into the story?
I've done hypnotherapy diploma, and as well as being a teacher for a long time. So that was part of the technique. So part of that course was writing screeds and scripts to use with clients, and so that was one of the techniques that's used as a deepener, and it helps people concentrate on one little part, but then it also makes them forget what they're doing, so they go a bit deeper because they get a bit confused. So there's a little bit of technique in there.
Relaxing the middle toe of your right foot, because actually in doing so, if you think about it, what you do is you think, well, I've got to relax the rest of my foot to do that,
Yeah.
and then in doing so, the bottom half of your leg,
Yeah.
and then because you feel like relaxed, it works its way up, didn't it?
Yeah. It's a good technique, and it confuses but also focuses a little bit deeper, and then you just go into a deeper relaxation.
Brilliant stuff. And in terms of the book as well, where is it available from?
It's on Amazon online.
And it's called A Relaxation
yeah.
Journey. Kate Mullin is the author. Mullin is the spelling of the surname there, if people want to find it a little bit more easily. A Relaxation Journey as well. People can buy that through there. And I presume as well, you'd be more than open to having a conversation about, opportunities to go and speak in those environments, get into schools and sort of share this story.
Yes, I am full-time teaching at the moment, but yes, it's eventually.
That's the dream. Would you consider doing any more of
I
these?
have done some talk. I was invited to a festival, and Brewed Festival was on, and so I have done some talks mainly with teachers, and sort of being in the classroom within my own school, and spread it out to other teachers. There's some great teachers using the books, and some therapists are using the books in special sessions with children, with mindfulness. Conscious Caterpillars are based in Liverpool, and Relax with Lizzie. There's loads of mindfulness places using them.
The other books you've written as well, we mentioned these on the programme before when we've spoken before. A Bear's Sleepy Journey, The Lost King, Twisted Tales of the Internet you mentioned before, and Pongy Stinkbelly.
Yes.
Do you find that when you're writing more standardised children's stories that you actually have that mindfulness, the hypnotherapy training kick in terms of how you tell those stories?
I think I've always been a writer. So before I did the hypnotherapy, I was always writing and doing poetry, writing all the time. So as a writer, I think just being a writer is what I enjoy, really. So the hypnotherapy just added to that in terms of let's write in a different way. So you wouldn't have it as poetic, maybe, as The Lost King, which is very flowery sort of language. But just the joy of writing and that sort of discipline of doing it as much as possible when you have time and trying different things with it, really, is what I enjoy.
Kate, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you coming on the programme today. Middle toe, right foot. That's what everyone's going to be trying to do off the back of this conversation. Relaxation Journey is the name of the book. Kate Mullin is the author, and she's our guest on Mental Health Monday from Radio City Talk.
Mental Health Monday with Mick Coyle.
On Radio City Talk.